Now, one thing for sure, two things for certain, is being in a gang is very dangerous. But then again, inside a prison, people get away with shit for a long time. But eventually, it can catch up to you. So for this video here, I'm going to be talking about how a gang member secretly had a boyfriend and how he ended up getting flipped, stabbed up, and airlifted by his own gang. Let's do it. I'm the best, finna be this way till I EOS. Take it how you want, nigga, yeah, I'm a pro. Fuck around and bust your lot while you're at Vizzo. I hate to be this way, but I live for the moment. Waking up every day, show me an opponent. Shanks on deck, hitting bitch you with locks. So much pool, I can even start you from the box. You don't wanna pay rent, got me bent. Got lax on deck, your money was well spent. Vultures on the prowl, so don't try testing. Step two, cause violent first steps finessing. You a hold down man, suitcase this. My cell phone, I'm a charger, don't walk with a limp. Get it knocked off or missing, you gon' get it. Next time I see your ass, you gon' leave airlifted. What's up, y'all? You already know, man. Kfrog TV back in the building. Y'all go ahead and do me that solid favor, man. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe button. And also make sure you hit the notification bell so you can see it first. Welcome back, y'all. Today I'm going to be talking about how a gang member got caught secretly having a boyfriend. And he ended up getting flipped by his own gang. Now, one thing I do want to say before I get into detail about this video and tell you how this shit went down is I actually reached out to one of my homeboys that is actually a gangster disciple, which is the same gang this type of individual that ended up, you know, getting flipped in is in, or was in. And, you know, I didn't want to be stepping over no boundaries or nothing by making the video. So I reached out to him, told him, man, yada, yada, yada. And he said, hell yeah, Frog, drop that shit on the channel. Let them know what happens to people who decide to, you know, play both sides of the fence when it comes to being inside of an organization. So I said, all right, say no more. I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. So for this time right here, I was locked up at my second main institution, all right? And what I mean by main is I mean institution that you were literally staying at, where it's your permanent camp, because you do a lot of transferring through reception centers, or you might have a little layover here at this place, this institution, but they're going to ship you out. So this was my second main institution where I was permanently, you know, resigning at, where it was my residence for a couple years. And this person that I'm talking about was a gangster disciple, you know, and, you know, it was like, to me, I feel like I seen it all coming, because due to the fact that I was able to tell that he was messing with that sissy, you know what I'm saying? I was able to tell that that was his boyfriend, you know, and I'm from the outside looking in, you know, but I guess, you know, he was trying all he could to, you know, sweep it under the rug and give his brothers different excuses and yada, 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 as far as like, oh, I know his people on the streets, or I knew his parents, or I knew, you know, do whatever they can. He's just helping me out with my law work, you know, I got to play up under him to this, that, you know, kind of make it to where his brothers do not think he's actually having sexual relationships with that man, you know, but after a while, you know, that shit eventually comes out. The more you try to hide something, them skeletons gonna come up out that closet, okay? And on a specific day I'll never forget, it was the same exact day that the individual who was the gangster disciple had visitation, all right? Now, one thing is, when it comes to inside a prison, is even if someone's not talking to you or knows you like that, people can peep your schedule. It's very easy to peep what you got going on, what time you go to work, if you're morning shift, afternoon shift, you know, if you work in the chow hall, if you're breakfast shift, or if you're lunch and dinner shift, you know, people can tell what you kind of do, how it is. So first thing that they ended up doing was, while this gangster disciple was at visitation seeing his family or whatever, they decided to run down on the sissy himself, the one that, you know, they feel like he was, you know, in, you know, sexual relationship with. And of course, you know, normally sometimes them sissies will hold their own and they'll rock out against multiple people. I've seen it plenty of times. Some of them have no care in the world and no fear in their heart. They'll stand up to an entire gang. Well, this one right here was actually mad about the fact that the gangster disciple was hiding him from his brothers and didn't want to get out of the gang, you know. So the sissy decided to tell the gang brothers what it really was. So now they got the the official outcome of if it's true or not. You feel me? Because normally, you know, the individual being accused of something's going to have to stand trial. They got to prove this before they just flip one of their gang members, you know, one of their brothers. That's normally how it is in any type of organization. You know, they kind of like got to get the proof first before they just go off of what is heard. Because if you could just go off of what's heard, then the opposition gangs or the rival gangs would be stirring rumors back and forth just to get their own, you know, opponents to knock their own kind off, so they'd shorten their numbers when it comes time to go into war, you see? So it's kind of like you got to make sure it's proof. You got to make sure it's true. So they went to the right source, directly to the sissy, and the sissy told them what it was. Yeah, we've been in a relationship for this many months, yada, yada, yada. Did y'all actually do anything? Yes, we did, several times. You know, gave the gang the whole rundown, okay? Now, the tricky part of this whole situation is when something like this occurs, you're going to have half of the gang's going to be cool with it. The other half's going to be against it. And what I mean by that is not cool with what they're doing, but cool with that individual. You see what I'm saying? So for this certain individual, you know, the gangster disciple, his, you know, brothers, only a handful of them were like still cool with them, that didn't want to be the ones to flip them, or you know, you can't believe what a sissy's saying, and you know, they didn't want to believe what they were being told. You get what I'm saying? So the other ones that want to flip them, the other ones that want to take them out, you know, got to kind of like try to find a way to do it, you know, without other brothers of theirs there, because this is how a war starts amongst the same gang, but two different, you know, sets. You see what I'm saying? And this individual that I'm speaking on, this gangster disciple, he was actually the head of his set on that compound. You feel me? He wasn't the head of the entire, you know, the gang, but he was the head of his set. You feel me? Like how you got, you know, you got the GDs that are, you know, the 7-4s, and then you got the insanes, you know, and then you got the maniacs, you know, then you got the Latin side, you know, you got different ones that, you know, even though they're all under the same gang, they're parts of different sets. And he was actually the head of his set. So of course, his own ones that are in his set, you know, that are the same set as him, are going to be against letting the other sets of the same gang as them, you know, call the shots and flip their head, because then it seems like they're trying to overpower them and run down and, you know, try to knock their numbers down and shit. So what they did is, I'll never forget, they waited until, okay, we were all at rec, right? So when everyone's at rec, they knew he was at visitation. They knew that he never stayed through the Vizzo the whole time. He always came back at like 1 o'clock, you know what I'm saying? He'd leave like an hour and a half early before Vizzo ended, you know what I'm saying? And when he did that, he'd be the one where we're all on the rec yard and you could see him walking back to the dorm. You see? So he gets to hang out in the dorm peacefully, quietly, with just a handful of people, you know, most likely, you know, housemen, people that clean the dorm, that are not, you know, obligated to mandatory yard, you know, or people that worked in the kitchen, you know, the shift before that. Now they get to hang out in the dorm and sleep. They're not forced to go to yard. Like a lot of people, you know, you got mandatory yard where you got to go to rec. You feel me? So everybody knew that's what it was going to be. So a couple of his, you know, gang brothers, not the ones of the same set, but a couple of the ones that actually wanted to flip him, that actually got the okay, decided to stay inside the dorm. They violated, like they made it to where they were able to stay inside the dorm. So when he'd come back from, you know, visitation, walking inside the dorm, there was only a handful in there, and none of the ones in there were the ones from his actual set. You see, so this was how they were able to, you know, do what they needed to do without the other ones standing up for him and a war starting amongst two people. Now it's all on the other, you know, people that are in the same set as him if they want to, you know, retaliate and call it what it is, but 9 times out of 10 they don't. You know, they start looking at what it really was, or that it needed to be done, even though they didn't like what needed to be done. It already happened, you know, and then they don't want to be left on that plate and become deer meat against their whole gang themselves. So then they're just like, it is what it is. You feel me? So you see him walk aside, you know, he's on the other side of the gate. Everybody sees him walking. You know, everybody sees him walking down the, you know, the sidewalk to go inside the dorm. I'd say about 60 seconds, maybe a little after a minute, boy. You see the police
running in that dorm, about 16 deep, rushing over there. Everybody that's on the pound, that's like on the rec yard, rushes towards the gate. So everybody's on the gate, like just sitting there screaming, you know, shaking the fence, yelling and shit like the jungle. And the ones who were his set brothers that were on the rec yard, they already knew what it was, you know. And soon as they started looking around, like once they peeped what it was, the other GDs, the other gangster disciples, surrounded them and told them, look, it is what it is. You know, we can mop you up right now. Because not only did they get what they needed to get done to that gangster disciple inside the dorm, but now all the attention's on that dorm. A lot of officers are over there now, you know. There's still a couple officers on the rec yard that are locked in here with the inmates. But everyone's attention, including everybody on the rec yard, is that dorm. That's why everybody's ran up to the gate. So they surrounded them boys and told them, look, you know what I'm saying, yada, yada, yada. So that was like a 2-for-1, you know. Like they surrounded them and was like, yeah, it is what it is. You know, we got no problem mopping y'all up too. You know what I'm saying? We can mop y'all up if y'all ain't with the program. Yada, 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 this and that, this and that. And just like I said, they said, man, it is what it is, bro. You know, shit, if he really did that, he got what he deserved. You know, and they just stayed with the flow. And then out of the few that were left from his actual set, one of them few that were left ended up being the head now. Because they didn't have nobody higher with power or anything, you feel me? So one of them became the head, and it just went on from like that. Now, when they brought this gangster disciple out of that dorm, that boy looked like he was slumped. And when I mean slumped, I mean dead. You know, when they brought him out, he looked dead. You see the stretcher getting brought in. You see 1 or 2 different inmates getting brought out in handcuffs. And one of the inmates that got brought out in handcuffs wasn't even the gangbanger, but he had blood on him. You see what I'm saying? Which we found out later on. He got put in confinement. He was under investigation. They thought he had something to do with the stabbing. And he really was the one trying to help the gang member, like stop the bleeding. That's how he got blood all on him. He actually didn't do nothing, but they still transferred him out anyways too, just for trying to save the other inmate. Now when the stretcher comes down there and they bring him in there, they brought this dude out on the stretcher, and when they were pushing that stretcher past that fence and everybody's looking, not to mention the camp I was at, the sidewalk where the dorm was that goes along the rec yard was a long ass walk. It wasn't like it was right there. It was a long sidewalk. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about long, like probably, I'd say 50 yards. Yeah, I'd say like half of a football field. That's how far down the sidewalk they got to go along the rec fence until they can bend the corner and start going up top towards medical. So he had a long like trail when they were pushing him on the thing. And you know, he was laying there, he was holding himself and everything, but I will never forget that when they were pushing this stretcher and he was on that stretcher, that it was like blood was dripping off the side of the stretcher. So he was leaving blood spots as he was getting pushed on a stretcher. So I knew he was leaking. Like in my mind, I was like, man, that dude done got bodied. You know, that's the thing I thought off rip. I was like, there's no way he's going to make it to medical. For as much blood is dripping off of this stretcher as it's getting pushed, I'm like, bro, he's got to be straight up losing too much blood, you know? And as they already knew how dangerous it was, because as they were coming down the sidewalk, I'd say they get about to where they got a quarter left of the walkway before they finally turn around, you know, the other side of the fence to make their way towards medical. You see the helicopter fly over the compound and go land on top of the medical building. So we already knew, yeah, he was being airlifted. You know, we knew he was getting brought to outside medical and shit like that. But at the same time, you know, there's, you know, you got rules, you got boundaries, you know what I'm saying? And some people put themselves in harm's way. You see, now me, do I know if the dude made it or not? Have no idea. But one thing I do know for a fact is them boys that had it done, or the boys that was part of it and shit like that, spoke as if that boy didn't make it. You know what I'm saying? The way that it was, like they were drawing the line, trying to make it known, your ass get caught playing on both sides of the fence. When it comes to this sissy shit, same thing gonna happen to you. And the dude that it happened to had rank. Like he had rank, like he was up there, you know what I'm saying? Like he literally like could call shots, and he could literally like not show up to a meeting. He could call a meeting and not show up. You know what I'm saying? Even though he wasn't the head, you know, he was up there though, you feel me? And he was from Chicago, you know, like So by him being from Chicago, he ended up having like a lot more rank than a lot of people from Florida that just, you know, came home since they've been from Florida rather than being from the motherlands and stuff like that, you know. So he had his rank. That shit was kind of up there, you know what I'm saying? And due to the fact that, you know, he got caught, you know, having a secret boyfriend, I personally, my opinion, I don't feel like what happened was wrong, you know, because you play with fire, you're going to get burnt. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, you can only keep something so secretive for so long, you know, and that shit didn't just start. You know, if someone gets caught secretly having a boyfriend, it isn't like, oh my God, I just messed up, I'm sorry. No, they've been had sugar in their tank, you feel me? And they've probably gotten away with it before, or they've had the thoughts, you know, and probably never did it before, but then had the thoughts. So that shit was always in them, you know, and it's like, why would you sign yourself up for a gang or be part of something so serious and be in an organization that you know is like a life-death situation, you know, that could occur when you're gonna play like that? It's like you're dissing your own gang when you do that. You're not thinking your gang's serious enough to take you off the map, or you're not thinking your gang's serious enough to figure out what you're doing, so they're not smart enough. You know, you're insulting your own gang when you do shit like that. Think about it. You sign up, you come home, you do whatever you got to do to become the gang member. Boom, they bring you home, you're a gang member now, right? You start doing shit and you're lying to them. And then they don't know the truth. Makes them look like they're not smart. Makes them look like they dumb. Like you're getting over and finessing your own gang. You're making your own gang look vulnerable. You know, that's what it is. Or if they know you're doing something and they don't do something to you about it, now you make them look soft. You make them look weak. You make them look like they're not living like that. You see, you insult your entire gang. So when you become a gang member and then you do something intentionally, whatever happens to you, I feel like you deserve, because you knew what it was when you signed up. You get what I'm saying? And that's the easiest way I could put it. You feel me? And you could only hide so much for so long. And what it was is the reason that I was able to peep on the outside looking in, that I knew that was his boyfriend. You know, I'm not his gang member or his gang brother. I'm none of that, you know. But the way I was able to tell is because just like when you know somebody on the streets that's a friend of yours or a family member of yours that gets a new girlfriend, right? And they start acting different. They want to spend more time with that person. You know, they talk about that person 24/7. They don't hang out as much. They're not around as much. You know, they move different. That's all they're focused on. You know, and you notice, you could peep that girl got their head in a swivel. She got him locked up like this to where you could peep the difference. That's what I was peeping by seeing this individual, this gangster disciple. I was able to tell he was acting like he got somebody new, like he was in a relationship. And I could peep this just from the outside looking in, from being in the same dorm as him. You see what I'm saying? I'm able to peep the difference, you know? And after a while, when you start peeping it, it looks so obvious. Nothing happens with the gang. It starts making you question the gang. Like, damn, are they allowing this shit? Are they letting this shit slide? You know, is this really what it is? Like, damn, like, how he able to do that, you know, yada, yada, yada. Especially when you've heard of other people getting flipped and airlifted and shit over this same stuff. And you see other gangs taking their own kind out over the same things. When their own kind falls victim and ends up getting too weak-minded and weak-hearted and falls victim for a sissy, same thing's happening with all the other gangs. You know what I'm saying? So it's like me peeping it and seeing how he was acting made me think of how certain individuals I knew on the streets would act when they get a new girl. Like they never had a female. It was like they never had any love. Like they never got no pussy before. Like that's how they would act. Like they would just act totally different. And I peeped that on this same individual. So that's how I knew that he secretly had a boyfriend. You get what I'm saying? And what the outcome was is what the outcome should have been. I'm just being honest with you. You feel me? Because, you know, him being from Chicago, shout out to the people from Chicago, but him being from Chicago, from where the motherlands and where shit originates and how it is, and then making his way down here to Florida, you know, even if you ain't the head, you know, regardless, people from Florida are going to look up to him some type of way, you know, because they know he's been somewhere they haven't been. You get what I'm saying? So they're looking at him to be most righteous. You know, they're looking at him to be real thorough, you know. And then when they see that he's not thorough, you know, it's kind of like, damn, is it really not thorough like that where he is? Or is he just taking us all like we're a joke, like not taking us serious, like he could just do this while he's down here, you know? So he's kind of crossing the way that the structure is built in Florida, and then he's either secretly trying to get away with it being from a structure from Chicago, or he just feels like since it's Florida, you know, he could do as he please and just try to finesse and play like he's really one, but in all reality, he's not really representing it, because in his mind, he might feel like F Florida and he's part of the Chicago one. You know what I'm saying? That's what people start thinking. So they gotta jump the gun and they gotta, you know, act and do what they have to do. You feel me? And luckily for the other people who were part of his same set, they weren't from Chicago, but they got brought home from someone that got brought down here, however it went or whatever. But luckily for them individuals that they just decided to just, you know, let that shit be what it was, you feel me? And then they just started doing their own thing. Because if they would have rocked out about that dude, you know, I know they probably felt like it was the right thing to do because they were the same set as him. But at the same time, he didn't just lie to all the other sets of the same gang, but he lied to his own actual set brothers the whole time too. So he didn't give a damn about them. So they shouldn't give a damn about him. You see, that's the type of thing that you gotta learn when it comes to this gang shit. You feel me? You gotta learn not every brother's your brother. And at the end of the day, your brother will do some shit that'll put your life at stake and he'll lie straight to you. You feel me? At the same time. But when something happens to your brother, you wanna back him. Even if you were one of the ones he lied to also. Which, it's in you. That's what you're supposed to do. Don't get me wrong. But 9 times out of 10, the shoe will never be on the, you know, if it's on the other foot, it will never come the other way. So if you lied, or if you got caught doing something foul, the same people that you would rock for and stick up for, even if they lied to you, are not going to do the same when it's you that's on that platter. You see? And that's what happened in this situation. So them boys just said, shit, it is what it is. And they started their own little boom thing. You feel me? But I've been at camps and places where it didn't go like that, to where the other ones rised and decided to rock against the other ones and defend the person who was stabbed up. And then you got a war going on in the compound amongst gangs, and it'd be the same gang, just different sets. You know, the compounds be split now. Now you got half over here, half over here. And if there's 4 or 5 different sets in one gang, it's all on who gets what now, who they're closer to. You feel me? Or who's more righteous, or who they're supposed to rock with. You feel me? Because if you got 5 different sets that are all one gang, you're going to eventually have either 3 against 2, or it's going to be 4 against 1. You see what I'm saying? That's the only way it's going to go. Everybody's going to try to side with who they side with, and the compound's going to be split. There's going to be 2 different heads until eventually a war breaks out, you know, and then they just come together somehow. That's what they're going to do, because if there's a head on this end and there's a head on this end and there's 3 sets that are over here, 2 sets over here, neither one of them heads are going to bow down to be under the other head. So they're going to have to rock. And then once they rock, whatever it is, whoever wins comes out on top is going to be the head, and then the other ones are going to assume the position, and they're going to fall in, and then that's how they're going to get back together and bring it all amongst us with one. But this gangster disciple that got caught secretly having a boyfriend, my opinion, he got what he deserved. And I'm just being honest with you. That's how I feel. Comment section's open. Y'all drop it in there and let me know what y'all think. And don't forget, there's always somebody watching. You understand? Like I said, there's always people that can peep what's going on. There's people that know your schedule. There's people that see everything you do, who you're talking to, you know. And even if they don't try to, you know, purposely worry about what you got going on, they can't help that it registers, you know, in their mind. If I see somebody, whether I'm in Vizzo or I'm not in Vizzo, you know, and I see somebody walking up the sidewalk every weekend around, you know, 1:30, 2 o'clock, and I know Vizzo's for another hour and a half, and I know he was at Vizzo, I got it locked in my mind. If I see him walking, I'll know he's going to Vizzo. And then if I see him, depending on which day it is, and then if I see him walking back by, I know he's coming back from Vizzo. So it's like, you peep these things. And then that's how they caught him slipping, because everybody had to go to rec, except for the few that wanted to stay there and take the fall of getting there who they needed to get. And at the end of the whole thing, that person that had that secret boyfriend ended up knowing what it felt like to get a knife in him. You see what I'm saying? But anyways, y'all, that's all I got for y'all, man. I want y'all to know that all the videos I be making over here, I don't mean nothing against no gang members. You know, I gotta say that because I know some people will try to read me wrong. You know what I'm saying? I got people that are in all organizations. You know what I'm saying? Literally, if I wanted to, I could bring somebody on here from every single gang to tell you how 100 Frog is. You feel me? It's nothing, you know what I'm saying? But I had to drop this video to let y'all know. And it isn't just the Gangster Disciples that go through stuff like this. There's other gangs that go through stuff like this. And any real gang members know it's 100% facts. But anyways, y'all, drop it in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. If you ever seen anybody get caught secretly having a boyfriend, or if a war started because somebody had a boyfriend or anything like that inside a prison, drop it in the comment section, man. And like I always say, make sure you keep them rats, squares, clowns, chomos, pedos, gunners, wannabe island boys, and clout chasers out your circle. And until next time, this the one and only, I am my team, Frog.
I'm a criminal, I'm a cool nigga, but I got a limit though.
I'm a cool, but I got a limit though, cause I'm a criminal, yeah, I'm a criminal.